Hi everybody, I'm Jason and welcome back to Kenchestown Kitchen. Good to have you back. Today I am going to make for you a delicious, tangy, savory, braised short ribs of beef. Short ribs of beef is one of those recipes that can be a little bit intimidating because of the nature of the steps, and some people find it a bit daunting. I'm going to show you how to do this. It can require a little bit of prep and 24 hours in advance, but it's actually quite easy, simple, and well worth the preparation and time needed for this delicious recipe. So I'm going to start with searing some seasoned short ribs of beef that I've brought these to room temperature and put some salt and pepper on them. I'm going to sear them in a pan and I'm going to prepare a delicious sweet and sour braising liquid. It's going to go into the oven and we're going to finish it off after that. So first step is I want to get these short ribs braised. I brought them to room temperature. They've been salted, peppered, and a tip for any time you braise or sear, you want to sear any kind of meat, is really just make sure they're nice and dry. So we're going to get these into the pan. I've heated about a tablespoon of vegetable oil, quite hot, and I'm going to sear these in batches for best result. You want plenty of air to circulate around the ribs so they really brown on all sides. And that's going to take a couple minutes on each side. And you really want to sear them nicely, get a little bit of crust, and seal in those juices before we put them in our liquid. So I'm going to go through these and I'll be back in a couple minutes to show you how we go to the next step of our recipe. Okay, we've seared these guys up. They are looking lovely, brown, and gorgeous. I might take my last one out, put that on the side. Okay, so I'm going to take the pan that I've cooked these short ribs in and I'm just going to carefully drain out the excess oil. I don't need to wash the pan. I'm just going to get rid of the extra grease. And put that back on a medium heat. The meat is looking fabulous. While the meat was searing, I've prepared 2 onions peeled and quartered, 2 heads of garlic halved the long way, and about a tablespoon and a half, 2 tablespoons of chopped peeled ginger. So those are going to go into my pan, and I'm going to just cook those a little bit till they get a little bit brown and soft. And this is our next step in creating the base of our succulent, delicious braising liquid. And I'm going to cook those for about 5-7 minutes until, again, they soften up a little bit and start to take a little bit of color. Okay, so we've browned up our garlic, onion, and ginger. That looks beautiful, sizzling and a little bit of caramelized color. Now we're going to prepare our braising liquid. So we're going to put all the ingredients in at once, and that's going to go with our meat into the oven. So quite easy. Next step. Into this, we're going to add a half a cup of soy, a half a cup of port, and a half a cup of apple cider vinegar, which I've pre-measured out. Right in. I'm going to add 2 cans of my broth, whether you use beef, chicken, or vegetable. So that's 2 cans right in there. I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of honey. 2 to 3 is usually enough. I don't love it too sweet, but that's personal taste. But you do need a little bit of honey, a little bit of sweetness, or brown sugar, which counterbalances the acidity. Okay, I've got my honey in there. I'm going to add a generous squirt of tomato paste. About a tablespoon, a heaping tablespoon in there. I've crushed up some peppercorns, juniper berries, and coriander seeds. That's going to go in there. A generous pinch of my sea salt. And then to brighten this, I'm going to do juice of an orange. If you have orange juice, it's about a half a cup. Blood orange juice works really well. I'm just going to squeeze that right in. It smells fantastic. And this is going to create a beautiful braising liquid that when we finish the meat, after it's braised and it's become tender and gorgeous, we're going to take the fat off the meat and then we're going to reduce this liquid down, which is going to be fantastic and make our sauce. I'm going to give that a little bit of pepper in here. Oh, it smells so good. and give it a little stir. And you can see that beautiful color. That's gonna get thick and gorgeous as we cook that in the oven. Okay, we're ready to put our ribs back in. So we have our beautiful ribs. I'm gonna put the larger ones on the bottom. And again, this is a little bit of a puzzle because you really want to try to get them covered as much as you can. Okay, so we've got all of those ribs tucked in there nice and cozy. I'm going to add, last step, a couple sprigs of fresh thyme into there. And I'm going to cover my pan. So just a word on the pan. I'm using a regular small stock pan. If you've got a Le Creuset or a Staub enameled cast iron pan for the oven, that works super well. This works fine. As long as the heat's low and your pan is oven proof, it's good to go. So this is gonna go in 160 degrees for 2.5 hours. We're not gonna peak. We're gonna be tempted, but we're not gonna peak. And I'm gonna be back to show you how we finish off our braised short ribs of beef. We'll see you in a little bit. In the meantime, we're gonna go out for a jog and work off some of that Kentish Town Kitchen cake. We're back. It's been 2.5 hours. The short ribs have been braising in the oven. The house smells incredible. I'm gonna get these guys out of the oven. Carefully getting our pan out as it was quite full. And check these guys out. Wow. Smells beautiful. As you can see, it's bubbling, the meat's falling off the bone, the fat is rendered, they're super tender. Those look fantastic. So at this point, I'm gonna let these cool on the stovetop until they come to room temperature. I'm gonna pop them in the fridge overnight, which is gonna allow all the fat to come to the top and harden, so we can remove the fat tomorrow, and then we're gonna finish them off. You could serve these now. They'd be absolutely fine, but it's really worth actually taking the extra step, as we talked about earlier, to see these things really develop their flavor in the juice overnight and to remove the fat so they're much leaner. So thanks, we'll see you guys back tomorrow when we finish our dish. Okay, so we're back. Our braised short ribs have been in the fridge for 24 hours or overnight, and we are going to clean them off as we talked about. So I'm gonna just look, ew. Okay, so that's all of the fat that's come to the top and hardened. And that's what we wanna remove. In the meantime, the meat has been soaking in the beautiful braising liquids. So I just use a spoon or a fork or whatever you can to kind of just get as much of that fat off. And that's really gonna allow the broth to be nice and lean and not greasy. Okay, we've cleaned all the fat off. That took about a minute, not a big deal. And that really is an extra step to get your ribs down to be nice and lean and clean and delicious. So we're gonna put these now in a hot oven at 425 for 30 to 40 minutes to let the broth reduce, the liquid to get bubbling and to heat through the meat. We'll be back to serve these and enjoy our braised short ribs of beef. Okay, welcome back to Kentish Town Kitchen. We're ready to eat our ribs. The house smells gorgeous. We're gonna take these out of the oven. They've been in about 45 minutes on 225 and they are caramelized and bubbling up and beautiful and absolutely divine. So you can see the tops of those ribs got caramelized from the oven. Being very careful, I'm going to just plate these. And these are very nice, just simply garnished with some chopped, I'm using a bunch of chopped fresh parsley. You could do chives. I'm gonna sprinkle it with a little bit. I have some wild garlic, which is in season, so I'm gonna put the flowers of the wild garlic. Be careful because they do start to sort of fall apart. And you can see the meat is just fork tender and beautiful. And then we're gonna carefully pour some of that juice into our serving bowl. And I like to serve these with a simple mashed vegetable. So mashed potatoes, we're gonna do mashed cauliflower. It's delicious with mashed butternut squash. So we have our beef. I'm gonna pour some pan juices carefully. And I'm gonna garnish that with a generous garnish of chopped parsley. and a couple of my wild garlic flowers. And we are good to go. Our beautiful braised short ribs of beef, tender, fork tender, tangy, absolutely divine. We don't eat meat frequently, but when we do, we want to eat it like this. One note, please, when you buy meat, make sure it's sustainable, it's healthy. Go to your local butcher if you can. Eat less, eat better. Stay safe, stay sane. Thanks for joining us on Kent's Town Kitchen. We'll see you all very soon.